everybody. It's Psychic Liz Cross from psychiclizcross.com. And we are redoing this video. I don't know what happened to the other video. I know that the fans and the followers are dying to have this video. Mr. Robot here had talked about it with them. And I have to tell you, this video completely vanished. We cannot find it. It's really bizarre. So, Mr. Robot, please, let's try this one again. Take two.
Awesome. So it kind of works out because we probed three things, and this was the most interesting part. So we'll just kind of think of it as we trimmed the fat, and we'll just start with the good part. So this is a widely viewed clip that has circulated the news everywhere, on basically the government showed real footage of UAP, they call it, unidentified aerial phenomena. And, basically all the other countries were like, oh, wow, USA is showing this UFO footage. And it's basically just some interesting footage. I'll play a little bit. There's a fighter pilot who's just tracking this disc that's flying. And in our last video, we probed this disc. So let's see, Liz, if you can kind of lock on to this unidentified flying object, and let's see if we can probe it as an entity.
Yeah. You know what's so strange? I remember the image, but I absolutely remember nothing about the probe. It's like my memory has been completely erased.
Or you're bored to death because you hate aliens.
Well, they just don't intrigue me as much as stuff that goes on here on the Earth plane. But
for sure.
But it's weird because I remember seeing this picture, this image, but whatever information has gone, just like the video.
Well, and that's also another facet of channeling is usually you don't remember the stuff too much, right?
That's true. That's how you can tell if there's a genuine psychic medium in the room, right? Because they don't remember what is said. They just can't hold that amount of information in the brain all the time. It goes in and it goes out. But I can normally remember snippets of things. Mm-hmm. For this video, I actually don't remember anything, which I find bizarre.
I think you'll remember the next part that we get to, but first let's see if you can confirm, was this craft not from Earth?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't from Earth.
And were there conscious entities inside of it that were navigating this craft?
No.
Were there energy beings inside of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that correlate to last time? I can't remember.
Yeah, so we got that there wasn't physical beings, but they were energy.
Right.
That they were energy beings. So can you ask, was this ship conscious as well?
What do you mean by that?
Is it a form of intelligence? Is it like AI, the whole ship?
Yes, as far as like humans can understand it to be, yes.
Okay. And where is this ship located now?
In the ether.
So is it traveling right now, or is it kind of parked?
It's like it's parked, but it's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not so much as it's an actual structure It's energy
Hmm.
that formed a structure, if that makes any sense.
Okay. And talking to this craft as a consciousness, would it say that Earth has anything like it technology wise?
It does a little bit, but we use that type of technology for like weapons.
Oh, interesting. Well, I definitely won't get into that. We want this video to stay floating around.
That's true.
So let's actually now dive in deeper and probe the energy beings that were inside of the ship. If you can find the captain.
Okay.
And
Yes, I have them.
and do you have isolated like the captain of the ship or the collective that were in it?
I've got 3 separate beings.
Okay.
One is in charge.
Cool. Ask the one that was in charge if they remember talking to us a while back.
Oh yeah, very happy to be back.
Okay, tell him no creepy laughs this time.
No creepy, no creepy laughs. I remember that part
Yeah.
where we had to stop the video because he was just laughing and we couldn't answer any more questions. I remember that.
So let's ask the being. First of all, let's get his name again because I forgot what it was. Can you grab its name?
Kenny,
Yeah, wow. So that verifies that you are actually channeling information because that was the name we got last time and you didn't remember any of that.
oh, okay.
I didn't really remember it either, but I definitely, once you said it, that was the exact name we got last time. So that's cool. And let's see if we can grab the second most important being's name.
Something like Ashuk. Ashuk.
And so are the 2 other beings happy to be there talking with you?
They're all happy. Yeah. They like having the floor space. They like being heard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was just thinking for a brief second, the other day I was driving down the road and I was like, I am basically talking to aliens. I was just baffled.
Yeah, where you are in the part of the world you are in, I would be careful of that.
Right. I know it's a crazy area. So first of all, let's ask the one in charge what they think of Earth.
It's an abomination.
And do they think that humans have a place in the universe?
Definitely. They think we're enslaved.
And can you ask them if we're enslaved by our governments?
No, by source.
Yeah, so we got that kind of. Can you ask them how they can exist outside the realm of source energy?
Ooh, that's a good question. How do you exist outside the realm of source energy? Because we're governed by someone else.
And this someone else, are they equal in power to source?
No, they're lower in power.
So why do they follow this? What's the advantages to this path that they're on that is not with source energy?
It operates at a lower vibration. Um, yeah, we did when I got really hit hard with energy.
Oops, you cut out for a couple seconds. 5 seconds back. What'd you say?
I'm so sorry. Is this the video that we did when I got like thrown against the chair with the energy.
Yeah, so
Oh, I remember that now. That was
yeah,
freaky.
so Kaneet has to tune down his frequency tremendously to communicate with us. Can you confirm that with him?
That's true. Yes. He's listening to you.
And energetically speaking, would they say that we are like them at all after we die?
Oh, energetically speaking. No, we're nothing like them. They have so much more energy and power that when we were doing the last video, when he sent me some messages, he forgot to modify or alter the energy, and I got hit. Remember, it went bam, and I got thrown against my chair. And the way I described it was that, like the superhero movies where, because my kids watch that, right? Where somebody like holds their hand up and it's almost like they push something away forcefully, it's on the TV, right?
Right.
That's what it was like, because he was talking so much and he forgot to modify that energy. And it was really, really, it was really big. Like it slammed me against the back of my chair.
Yeah, I remember you kind of gasped because you were thrown
Yeah.
back.
And isn't it strange that that video, which was phenomenal, by the way, just completely vanished?
I know we had a lot of issues with this information getting out. So let's see if can you ask Kaneet if they have any form of religion?
Ooh, do you have any form? Yes, they do.
And does he have any goals to ascend through this religion?
No.
And where he's at in the universe, did he have to reincarnate many times to get to where he is?
No. And their religion is based upon energy, uh, the mode of acquiring that energy.
Interesting. That makes sense. Um, okay, can you ask Kaneet if there's any humans that are like us, or even not too similar like us, genetically speaking, that are elsewhere in the universe?
Are there any humans like us that are elsewhere in the universe? Is that true? Yes.
Okay, and
They're far away.
interesting. That's so cool.
They don't look exactly like us. They're a lot more primitive to what we are now. So they're almost like the early humans.
Yeah.
Have
And
you heard that before?
no, I mean it makes sense though from an evolutionary standpoint. But can you ask Kaneet how they can hear us when they're, in a distant galaxy when you just try to connect with them?
That's a great question. I've always wondered that. Like, how can they hear us? How can they see us? How come when I do mind probes, at the speed, like, especially with someone across the other side of the world, thousands and thousands of miles away, is it faster than the speed of light? Right? And
Yeah.
how come it must be because we think of this, so before I verbalize something, you give me the question, I then try to send it across. But because my thought process is happening a second or some time before,
Hmm.
maybe not even a second, they already are shooting back the answer
Right.
because they're picking up on the thought process more so than the verbal.
Okay.
How can you hear us? Because it's energy, and they're energetic beings and they read energy.
And so I'm trying to basically piece together stuff from our last video that we talked about all this, and we ended up getting to the point where we talked about how this is the background mechanics of how the universe works. Um, so basically, can you ask him how much faster this information does thoughts travel faster than light?
Do thoughts travel faster than light? No, light travels faster than thought.
And so
The speed of thought is just behind in speed as the speed of light. So the speed of light is actually only slightly faster.
so that's interesting because we got that they're on the other side of the universe than us, right? Can you ask them?
That's right.
So that's, let's just say, a million light years. So it'd take a million years for them to pick up on our thoughts. So ask them what mechanism is functioning where they can have a back and forth conversation with us.
What mechanism is functioning where you can have a back and forth conversation? Because I'm drawing them in, right? So their actual location where they reside is on the other side of the universe. However, as I'm drawing them in to ask them questions, which they already knew we were going to do, they're now presenting themselves as close by. They're not so far away.
And can you ask them if they're basically, while communicating with you, are they, over there, or are they using like a portal to communicate with you, shortening that distance?
A portal to communicate with me. Yes, that's true. They're using a portal. Yes.
And does this portal work like a wormhole?
Does this portal work like a wormhole? No, it's unique to me.
To Kani or to you?
To me, M-E.
Okay.
Does
And
that mean that I'm the portal? Yes, I'm the portal.
and let's see, how long has Kani been alive in our Earth years?
Millions of years.
Interesting. So is Kani aware of other alien life forms in the universe?
Yes, lots and lots of them. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to show you this very interesting crop circle that showed up, and it showed up in such a way where it's let's see, where is it? It might have been a different image, but the way this disc works, it's like the dots that are on a CD, so there's information encoded. I think it's binary or something. Can you ask Kani if this is an actual crop circle that was done by an actual alien?
This is an actual circle done by an actual alien. No.
Well, that's his opinion, right?
Is that your opinion? No, that's a fact.
Okay. And does Kani, is he aware of any crop circles actually being done by aliens?
Are you aware of any crop circles actually being done by aliens? Yes, several.
So here's actually the one I was looking for. This is very interesting. So NASA put out a file that represents, it's this image right here. It actually represents how our DNA strand works, the double helix. It represents that we are the third planet away from the sun, and that we look like that. We're bipedal. We also encoded the concept of a what do you call this? A satellite dish. Amount of people on the planet, how long we've been around. And then this crop circle showed up, I don't know how many years later, and this image was there, and it shows, the DNA. They followed our same diagram, and their method of communication. Can you ask Kenny if this is a true alien crop circle?
Is this a true alien? Yes, it is. They just hit me with that energy again. And now he's trying to sweet talk me again. Oh Lord.
They love you.
Yeah, but that's because I would be a very useful portal for them, right? So
Right. Tell them to
end up compromising me.
ask them if they could put, change your bank account to reflect, that you have like billions of dollars. Is that possible?
I'm sure that they could. Hold on. Can you change my? Yes, they can give me whatever I want as long as I sell my soul over, which I won't do.
So do they specifically ask for your soul?
Yes, that is what is required.
And that's interesting. So that doesn't make any sense because I think we've channeled Jesus and he would say that, it's not your soul to give and you can't really give it away, right? Is that?
They can take it.
Interesting. Was that
you're giving it away consciously, right?
Mhm.
So with other people that channel aliens, no disrespect to them. Obviously, they do what they feel is right, and I do what I feel is right.
Yeah.
Getting these same messages that I'm getting now and think, oh, these things are so nice. They're so good. They're this, they're that. They like me. We want to foster this communication, blah, blah, blah. And what happens is you end up getting compromised.
Yeah.
We just had a big discussion about this on the Discord about Courtney Brown. And, no disrespect to Courtney Brown, but clearly he's compromised. I am not talking to that lizard.
Yeah, we can leave him out. But I wanted to get their opinion on Eridif.
They don't like Eridif.
This is one is Eridif right here. So
Right.
Eridif is an ancient soul who has incarnated as a Palladian. Why don't they do they dislike Palladians?
Yeah, it's very tribal up there.
And do they have any opinion on Treb?
He's a clown.
And do they feel like they're a higher vibration or higher frequency than Treb?
No, they're all about the same.
Interesting. And so for anyone seeing this video for the first time, Eridif and Treb are channeled through Rob Gauthier. Check him out. So that one's fake. And let's see if they have any input on this. So these rocks are in Peru, and basically it's thought that they have to be molded by like heat because these shapes were so unnatural. Can you ask them if at any time in our past did Earthlings use alien technology to form structures?
Yes.
And can they tell if these objects or these rocks were maybe formed with some type of alien technology?
What are they called?
So these are the rocks in, well,
molded stones.
The molded stones in this area of Peru.
They're taking credit for that.
Their technology?
No, they're saying they built it.
So let's ask Kani what he thinks about the pyramids. Does he think that there was any alien influence on the assembly of the pyramids?
Humans built that.
Interesting. So yeah, these rocks were pretty heavy. Can you ask him how humans were able to move these large rocks and do this?
How are humans able to move these large rocks and do this? They had a lot of help. What do you mean by help? Like, what sort of help did they have? They had spiritual help. It's almost like you know how you can move things with your mind?
Yeah.
It's almost like they had a team of people helping to move these things.
Oops. I think you cut out right there.
Oh, well, that doesn't
Oh,
surprise me. Can you hear
I
me
got
now?
you. Yeah, I got you. So,
Yeah, that this is a frequent occurrence as you and I are doing these probes, and I think that's because some of this information isn't supposed to be out there, which is why that video disappears and I disappeared. I'm praying this one doesn't. It looks like they helped to move these stones with, and I believe it's called telekinesis, right?
and from Kenit's perspective, did the people who built these, did they learn the telekinesis through their own means, or were they gifted this concept from somewhere higher?
Yeah, from source.
Okay. And would Kenit say that these pyramids function as machines, or did they, I should say?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, was the pyramid's purpose to transmit energy?
Prayers, yes.
Oh, through prayer, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And does Kenit think that that was a worthwhile effort for humans?
No, but they don't understand, like, they're not limited like human beings, right?
Right,
So we have to find things to magnify
right.
our wants, our wishes, our manifestations, our healing, our gratitude. They don't have to worry about that because they're not bound by physical body, right? A human
Mhm.
body. Somebody actually asked me over the weekend because they said they do a lot of praying, and in fairness, we all do. What was the difference between praying and the CTT? And actually what spirit gave me was the difference between prayer and CTT is the fact that prayer, you're relying upon the universe and, whoever you're praying to, God, Jesus, source, archangels, whatever it is you're praying to, you're relying upon goals, as opposed to taking, charge of what you want to achieve and doing it yourself. And
Mhm.
that would be the same with your energy healing that you do, because you do Reiki. It's like
Yeah.
you're taking charge, because what all that is an energy exchange, right? So we're praying and praying, praying, please, can this happen? Please, can that happen? Please, please, please. And whether they're unrealistic or realistic prayers, in order for these miracles to happen, or whatever it is you're praying about to happen, there has to be an energy exchange, right? In
Yeah.
order for it to manifest. And by taking control of that energy exchange, by Reiki, by BQH, QHHT, CTT,
Ooh, Liz. Hey, Liz.
Did I lose you?
Oh, yep. Lost you for a second.
Sorry.
Can
Yeah, it's just lots of connection problems and uh electronics and electricity blowing in the room at the moment, because I think I'm achieving certain breakthroughs with the questioning, so that tends to happen because the energy is very strong. So yeah, we're creating our own miracles instead of waiting for God, Jesus, source, and others to create our miracles for us.
what's Kanit's opinion on humans and healing themselves through energy healing?
Well, he thinks it's absolutely ridiculous. He's laughing about it
Why is that?
because they feel that we are enslaved and we cannot heal ourselves.
Because of karma?
Because of everything being predetermined, pre-designed, and source is in control.
Yeah. So is he familiar with humans breaking that cycle ever?
No. And again, they don't tend to really understand it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. One question left for Kanit, and then I want to actually do a different guy, is what is their opinion on dark matter? It's this kind of unknown energy that is kind of pushing all the planets away from each other.
Okay, what is your opinion? He likes dark matter. They love it. It's beautiful. And I'm like, why do you like it? Because it's so disruptive? And yes, because if you're pushing the planets away from one another, you're diffusing that magnetism, right? And if you're diffusing the magnetism, you're making it less powerful and less energy here on the earth plane.
And
that gives the aliens more power.
And does he reside on a physical planet right now? Is he in a physical state of being right now?
No, energy state of being.
And what happened to his physical planet or his body?
What happened to your physical planet? They go there sometimes. You have a physical body. They don't need a physical body. That's how, consciously advanced they are.
And why do they need a spaceship when around here? Can't they just kind of fly around as energy?
Because they want to make their presence known.
And were that footage of them that I showed earlier, was that an accident on their behalf?
Was that an accident on their behalf? Yes.
And we also got something else. Were they in trouble for getting caught on film, basically?
Were you in trouble for getting caught on film? Not too much trouble, but they shouldn't have been. They should know how to avoid, they know what's filming them. They should know how to avoid like the US government filming them.
And so it's hard to think of this place, being non-physical and having there be a structure like he's in command of those other guys. Can you ask him if there's one entity in charge of their race?
No, there's a structure, there's a hierarchy.
And how high is he on that hierarchy?
It will very low down.
Yeah, I was thinking, kind of like a jet pilot is just a jet pilot, compared to our government. And can you ask him a name of someone who is near the top of that chain?
Who's near the top of that chain? It's like darkness. It's a dark figure.
And so what's weird about that is that they're, based on this culture of, getting more and more energy. So it's weird that more energy would be translated as darkness.
Sorry, what's the question?
Can you have him see if he wants to pull in like his boss into the channel? Like someone way higher than him?
Oh no, that's dangerous.
Okay. What did he say? Did he say anything?
And the energy is too strong. I wouldn't be able to handle it. It could kill me. It could actually make my body explode.
Huh, wow. Let's not do that then.
So that's the end of psychiclizcross.com. Oh
Okay.
Lord.
So that's all I got for Kunit, and let's do someone else now. Let me know when you got disconnected.
Okay. Yep. I've said bye. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know how to spell. I know you don't really like Bashar, but I have one question for Bashar. So, so let's see if we can connect to the entity named Bashar, who is channeled through Darylonka.
Okay.
And how are they presenting themselves?
It's like a big blob, like a big blue-green blob.
Okay, first off, let's ask. There was a group of psychics who did a video to probe Bashar, and they were doing remote viewing, and they saw like a really beautiful place, and we're talking to him. Can you ask if those remote viewers were actually describing the place where Bashar is?
Are they actually describing the place where you are? Yes.
Cool. And they also got an overwhelming sense of like love. Can you ask Bashar if that's also accurate?
Yes, that is accurate.
And can you ask him why he doesn't show you his positive sides?
He tries to, but you see, even with the beautiful place that he showed those others, even with the love and all of that, I feel like he facilitated that himself.
Yeah.
So it's almost like looking at a picture on the internet, right?
Right.
They can take you to wherever they want you to believe that you need to go.
And your general sense of Bashar is a bit different, right?
My opinion of channeling aliens, and just it doesn't matter like who or where they are, which area of the universe. What bothers me is the amount of power they have over us.
Right.
I like to be in control at all times, meaning when I'm channeling things, when I'm doing my psychic work, if I'm doing CTT, whatever it is, I maintain control. When you're messing around with these aliens, they are so much more powerful, exponentially so, in consciousness, in speed, in power. Like that one, he forgot to tone down the energy, and it knocked me back into the chair, right? And you heard that. That was a very real moment. With that type of power, I think having that much power over a human is dangerous.
Can you ask Bashar if he has negative energy towards humans?
He says no.
Okay. Or what about does he want to take over the earth? Does he have any like world domination type thoughts?
No.
Okay, now let's get to the sacred circuits. Can you confirm with him real quick that their race or whatever gave us these patterns? They're called the sacred circuits.
That's correct.
And does he actually think it'll help us expand our consciousness to basically go over these?
Yes. I have
And
no idea what I'm looking at.
yeah, so basically in one of his channels, they gave this as a gift to humanity. Can you ask him if this gift has any ill intent?
From him, no. But when you're hooking into this, you're hooking into the alien collective.
Does he think that humans can ascend through help from aliens?
When you hook into the alien collective, you are now no longer protected by Source, right? Source
Hmm.
can't help you up there. What was the question?
Does he think aliens can help humans ascend?
He believes that by giving humans information so they don't live in a pit of confusion, that can help them to ascend. Yes.
And is that his goal through channeling through Daryl Anka?
Yes, but also to get humans very comfortable with the idea of talking to aliens.
Can you ask him if Bashar's concept of open contact has already occurred?
No, it
Uh,
hasn't.
he seemed to make it sound like it was going to be soon. Can you ask him if open contact with aliens happens in 2022?
No, they don't understand the concept of space and time like we do.
Okay.
They're not bound by gravity. So, what may seem as coming around the corner to them, it could be hundreds of years for us.
Right. Well, what's interesting about that is while he's doing a channel, so he channels and takes over Daryl Anka's body. He speaks in terms of, he says your Earth years. So so he'll say 50 Earth years. So I think they have a somewhat of a good grasp of our time. Can you ask him if the timelines he mentions through Daryl are accurate, or are they guessing based on their concept of time?
Well, when they're entering his body, then they're entering into a space of gravity. So they would be able to understand
Okay.
the time. Right. Yeah, because they're in a body, they're on Earth, they have gravity, their feet are firmly planted. So yes, that would give them a concept.
And by the way, is Bashar one individual or a collective?
It's collective.
So once upon a time, you were asking me to kind of probe ayahuasca. Let's go into DMT because I've seen Bashar talk about DMT. Can you ask him?
Okay.
Can you ask Daryl, or I'm sorry, Bashar, what the purpose is of hallucinogens like DMT on Earth?
To escape from pain.
And when a human takes DMT, are we actually experiencing higher dimensions?
Yes, because your consciousness leaves the body.
Yeah, so in a video with Bashar, he says that you go anywhere from the fourth all the way up to possibly the seventh dimension. Can you have him describe what the seventh dimension is to you?
Oh, what is this? The seventh dimension is like pure heaven. So you've reached a point of no more life lessons on earth,
Mm-hmm.
but you will still have life lessons in heaven.
And can you ask him if seventh density is in the framework of source energy?
I'm not sure what you mean by that question, but I gotta know. You're still quite far away from like direct source energy.
I'm just wondering if if people follow source, can they reach the seventh dimension?
People follow source, can they reach the seventh dimension? Yes.
Well, that's good. I'm just making sure that Bashar is
Ah.
talking about a place that we would want to go to or a place that we don't want to go to, basically.
Okay.
Okay, and let's actually work our way down real quick. What do they describe the sixth dimension like?
The sixth dimension, you still have to reincarnate, but you don't have to reincarnate as many times as we do in the other dimensions. So it's more of a very old soul, very wise person of the village. You're at a very observant level. You're just observing humankind, animal behavior, things like that on the earth plane.
Can you ask him what dimension my soul is at?
Two.
And this, what you describe, has nothing to do with it's like a different scale than saying we are physically in, because we are in the third dimension right now, right?
As in, so, okay. Sorry. Ascension or dimension. So yes, we're in a third dimension.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's different levels of ascension. So I'm sorry, you're at the second level ascension.
Great. Yeah.
Your goal is to get to number 3.
Mm-hmm. And what's the quickest way for humans to raise their ascension level?
Raise their ascension level. To process traumatic events.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. Is it through pain? Or suffering?
It's processing that pain and suffering and understanding why and how that fits into your life plan.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. And just for fun, can you ask him if he can tell what ascension level you are?
Oh, that just gave me cold chills. Ascension level am I? 3.
Fun. So can you ask if it's typical for a third level ascension person to be psychic?
Is it? Oh, that's a good question. Is it typical for a third level ascension person to be psychic? Sometimes it is. You definitely have more psychics on that level. The 7th level is like the all-knowing. So you're starting to come down. Are you extremely psychic? No, not when you hit the earth plane at the 6th and 7th levels, right? When you're getting up there, but you still have this all-knowing within the soul.
I see. And where does the collective of Bashar reside on that scale?
That scale doesn't apply to them.
Would they say that they're all knowing?
Yes.
And
but they're not a part of that scale.
Does it have to do with the fact that they don't have anything to do with source energy?
That's correct.
And what is Bashar's? I like the idea of talking to one person, can we have one positive entity out of the Bashar Collective step forward for the conversation?
Okay.
What is, and let's just call them Bashar, what is their perspective on God, our perspective of God?
All knowing, all being, this bright yellow, white light, good in the world. It's the good force.
And why don't they subscribe to this concept?
They're not allowed to.
So do any of the consciousnesses in the Bashar Collective have a soul?
Ooh, that's a good question. Does any collective in the Bashar consciousness have a soul? No. I don't know where you're going with that, but I'm trying to wrap my head around that answer. So what exactly am I talking to? I guess I'm talking to the consciousness. I mean, it is possible to have a consciousness without a soul.
Right.
But if they don't have a soul, then why is that? I don't understand this. Go ahead. Keep asking questions.
Yeah. Why would a consciousness, or I should say, would a consciousness want to ascend if it didn't have a soul, or is that an action limited to people or to entities that have souls?
Ooh. It's limited to entities that have souls. Excellent question.
Thank you. And basically, do aliens wish they had souls?
Yes. And that's why they like to come down and steal ours.
And so, is Bashar aware of any occurrences where aliens have stolen souls from people on Earth?
Plenty of times.
And do they do that with cows?
If they're desperate.
And what is Bashar's opinion on cow manipulations that are basically from aliens? Why would aliens want to dissect cows?
Because they're looking for the soul.
And
in the body, souls are kept. That's one thing that they don't know. They're not privy to that information.
and towards the beginning of alien existence, did they have souls and lose them?
Oh, that's a good question. Towards the beginning of existence, did you have souls? Yes, they were stolen from them.
By what?
I don't know, some force in the universe that locked all the souls away.
And what is consciousness like without having a soul? Is there any difference for them?
Yes, there's a huge difference. You don't have to go through life lessons.
Do they have a sense of emptiness though because of that?
Very empty, yes.
So they're basically pure knowledge and information without any reason to like ascend.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the definition of alien is purely just life forms outside of our planet. Can you ask Bashar if there's life forms outside of our planet that also are connected to source energy?
Ooh, good question. No.
And why is the universe so big if there's really only Earth for souls?
Why is the universe so big when there's only a soul? Because in case they need to populate other areas as well, it's already readily available.
Mm-hmm. And when he says they, is he referring to source?
Yes.
And can you ask this Bashar person if they've had any interaction with source themselves?
Yeah. Yes, received a warning from source before.
What was it regarding?
Trying, it was regarding the information that was being put out, and that they would no longer make it possible for that person to channel Bashar if they gave bad information.
And what you said?
If they were trying to compromise him, that source would immediately find a way to stop all communication.
I see. So Bashar has a throttler, a limiter by source that is keeping an eye on what he communicates.
Yes.
And is Bashar aware of source being aware of this conversation right now?
Yes. Now see, they limit the human, not necessarily the alien. So limiting the human would be a knock-on effect, because then the alien wouldn't, if that makes sense, the alien wouldn't be able to communicate. That
Oh, I
down.
see. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think of which side the enforcement is on. So this enforcement with source energy, it's kind of has its eyes on Bashar, right?
Yes.
Okay, and let's see what Bashar thinks about this. Can you ask Bashar why electrons, when shot one at a time through a double slit, why would they show a pattern, like an interference pattern showing like a waveform? This basically happens when it's being observed. Why does the act of observation change what happens when electrons go through these slits?
Why does so I'm sorry, that's two questions. So why does the act of observation change what's happening?
Yeah.
Because it's meant to.
So are the electrons aware that they're being observed?
No.
What realm of, is it the laws of physics? Because this is basically has to do with the idea that when you observe it, when there's, so basically when you observe it, I forgot which way is the other way, but you get what's called interference pattern, which means that the electron is breaking apart and then interfering with itself by recombining, and it's basically like where something is no longer physical and it becomes energy. So can you ask Bashar if our electrons in our body are constantly doing this?
Sometimes.
So basically, does consciousness have an effect on the physical world around us?
Yes, according to perception.
And so Bashar says that reality around us is more along the lines of what does he say? He essentially says like a hologram or like a not real place, our reality, and that it's each reality is actually unique to each individual. Can you ask him to confirm if that's true or false?
False.
And when we perceive everything around us, is everything around us actually around us, or is that a hologram?
It's actually around us.
Interesting. So when we move through space, are we actually moving in space, or is space moving around us through intention?
Oh. Yes, space actually moves around us. So when I'm shooting an energy strand up into space, right, to connect to the target site, I
Mhm.
part space. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Not about the parting space.
So I push it out so the energy strand can reach where it needs to go, because it has to have a space, as in it has to be able to have a dedicated space for it to go from one place to the other.
Okay.
Now we're talking about signal lines.
Yeah. Yeah, let's ask Bashar kind of what we asked the other guy. How is it possible that they can hear us when they're so far away?
Because it's energy and they can connect and pick up on the energy.
But does this energy travel in a straight line from here to where they are, or is it warping space?
It's not a straight line, no.
Yeah, because a straight line would be like, do they reside light years away from us, Bashar?
Yes, many.
And are they in any of our familiar constellations like Orion or Sirius or anything
No.
farther than we can see?
Yes.
Gotcha. And what is Bashar's opinion on the alien we were just channeling before? What was his name? Kanit?
Kenny, yeah. Well, they're kind of in competition with one another, so he's not too bothered about it.
So inform Bashar that Kanit, we asked Kanit the question last video, and Kanit said Bashar was a wannabe human. What is his interpretation of that comment?
He can think what he likes. That's somewhat true.
And does that have to do with the fact that maybe the Bashar collective maybe wants to assimilate with like Earth souls?
That would be ideal, yes.
And can you ask, just as an aside, just for fun, what is Bashar's opinion on Daryl Anka?
He's very good.
And how is Daryl doing nowadays in 2022?
Excellent.
And will Daryl keep channeling Bashar?
For the time being, yes. I don't feel like he'll be doing this too much longer.
Yeah, is Daryl going to retire this channeling stuff?
Yeah, it's taking a toll on him, yeah.
So here's a interesting question I'm remembering from Bashar's conversations. Is Bashar a future form of Daryl?
Oh, are you a future form of Daryl? No, they're completely separate entities.
And what's their relation to Daryl? Because the channeler Bashar has mentioned that they're somewhat intertangled. through time.
What I'm sorry, what are you looking for?
Their relationship, if it's, are they, so is the Bashar you're talking to in the future, or are we talking to present time Bashar?
Present time. But that's interesting because anytime we are, you know, intertwined with somebody, or even through friendships or relationships or family, whatever, our strands get raveled. You know what I mean? They're sort of wrapping around each other. And then we move through the time, and then those strands start to unravel.
So did they, can you ask them if they made, you know, like an agreement with Daryl Anka before he was born?
Yes.
And why did Daryl agree?
Just to help get the message out there.
And another question for Bashar is, when they channel through Daryl, is it the future version of Bashar compared to the one we're talking to now?
No, it's a present version.
So one of the most interesting things I've heard when Bashar was talking was that based on what you ask them, they actually are going backwards and forth through time to find the level, the highest level to answer back. Can you ask them if that's true?
That's true.
And so that makes me wonder about the future. Can you ask Bashar, if they don't believe in source energy and a plan to the universe, how do they have a future to go into? If it's not, you know, if that's a part of the source.
They're just there. They don't, time is irrelevant.
Mm. So from Bashar's perspective, does the universe ever end?
No.
But did it have a starting point?
Yes.
And the entities of Bashar, were they created by source energy?
No.
And are they evolved from aliens? Because they're non-physical, right?
No, it's not so much revolved from aliens. It's more like they're revolved from, they've come from a different energy source.
And would they say that that energy source was the opposite of source energy?
Yes.
And what is the overarching identity of negative or anti-source? Why does it exist?
What does anti-source exist? To create struggle.
And it was created by source?
No.
So was there anything that existed before source or dark energy?
No.
Yeah, because now I'm like reaching into the beyond the beginning, and you have to imagine that maybe it's kind of like what's happening now, where, you know, things are trying to ascend. Maybe things ascended to the point where they became source. Can you ask if source was just basically just a bunch of consciousnesses that kind of gooped together and became positive energy?
Other universe.
What was that?
I feel like they're from a whole nother universe, And that they, what did you ascend? That they are ascended masters.
Who is?
Source and the other strong energies that are in charge of creation.
But what created those creators, those ascended masters? Did anything create them?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's a whole nother universe.
Right.
They
So
were created by a whole nother universe.
and so this is an infinite parallel universe phenomenon where source kind of keeps pulling together and being a creation force.
What kind of phenomenon was it that you said at the beginning?
Basically where, since it's from a different universe, ask if the creation of our universe is a common occurrence, like that mechanism. Our new universe is created all the time.
No, you have to reach a certain level to be given that authority.
But does each universe have its own version of source energy?
Yes.
But is the source energy across all universes connected?
That's kind of, I've never looked at it like that before.
Did you say anything before that? Because I might have missed it if you did.
Yes, that's true. It's a continuation.
Okay. But so the other universe, how many other universes are there?
Millions.
And what started all of these universes?
An explosion.
And before everything existed, was it like a white room, or was everything in pitch black?
And then source is the white light in the pitch black room.
And why does Bashar think source exists in the first place?
Well, because they're all knowing, so they can see source.
But why is there a source energy?
Because it has to, in order to continue a consciousness existence. If we didn't have source energy, we wouldn't have a consciousness.
Okay. And their consciousness, the consciousness of Bashar, derived from dark energy.
Yes, and that's also a continuum.
Interesting. Well, I think that's all I have for Daryl this evening, or Bashar.
Well, that was super, super interesting because nobody's ever asked me that question, right?
I
But
just try to keep going down and down, deeper and deeper.
and I know how your brain works. So obviously next time you will have more questions about that because you're now going to sit there thinking about it and think of a ton more questions. So, but that was extremely profound.
Awesome.
It's like if there's millions of universes out there and you have to have a continuation of source. So it seems like the universe is constantly replicating itself, just like a cell divides, right?
Yeah, ask if you have Bashar still, ask him why there's so many universes. If each one has a version of ourselves in it.
Does each one have a version of ourselves in it? Our former selves.
So they're parallel. Are they parallel to us?
Are they parallel to us? No.
Or they're like past fragments and we're moving forward?
That's how I see it, right?
Yeah.
So, like the Star Wars theme tune, right? The
Yeah.
where you're there, I guess it's Star Wars, maybe it's Star Trek, and then the stars start to move back. You know what I mean? Like you're moving forward and the stars are like expanding.
Yeah.
That's what I see. So it's like the universe is constantly replicating itself, but every time it replicates, it creates a new consciousness, right? And each universe has a different consciousness. But it's not running parallel. It's almost like running down one continuum timeline.
And when we die, are we able to visit those other universes?
No, we're trapped in this universe.
And so when we make progress, are we transcending this universe and going forth into the next one?
Our souls will forever remain in this universe. We're not allowed out.
And can you ask him if that's a positive thing or a negative thing
Is that
from
a
his perspective?
positive thing or a negative thing? Positive.
Why?
Because we cannot exist in the other universes. The consciousness is so different. So the way that we are built on a soul level, we could not possibly exist in a different universe. They modify it every time. Look, every time the cell divides, right? It makes a duplicate, but sometimes it makes a slight modification.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what's happening. It's duplicating, but with the universe, it's making these modifications. So what exists in one universe cannot exist in another.
Can you ask Bashar if the Bashar collective is able to peer into the other universes, at least visually?
No.
So it's completely locked out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, that's all I got for today.
Yeah. Well, what is the first phrase, I guess, in the Bible? What was it? God created the universe?
I have no idea.
I don't either. But
Like, let there be light, maybe, or something.
God said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
Yeah, that was definitely in there.
That's what happens. It's like, okay, now you've ascended in this universe. Now we're going to give you your own universe to run, right? So Source is in charge. But I'm saying, are you in charge of the alien life forms in the universe? No. Only the souls that were created, right? And we are created to live here on planet Earth. That's what God controls.
Yeah, I just don't understand how aliens are outside of God. It's weird.
I don't either.
Because there's like, can you confirm, let's just say, is there over 100 different species of aliens in the universe, in our universe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big number. Let's just say, I don't know, over 1,000 species, different species of aliens.
Yeah. And do you outnumber humans? Oh, yeah. By far, they outnumber humans.
And so when an alien dies, are they reincarnating? Hello? Liz? Are you there?
Yes, the energy doesn't
Oh,
actually die. The energy doesn't die. Their energy, it just transmutes. I can only apologize for the connection issues. I think it has to do with the strong energy that we're channeling.
so did they get an answer? Do they reincarnate, the aliens?
Do you reincarnate? No.
Well, and by the way, to everybody, whenever we talk to these beings, they're ultra specific. So reincarnation might be a framework that we're used to. Can you ask them if they can choose to become physical if they want to?
Can you choose to become physical if you want to? Yes.
And also, do aliens in general, do they need to go through life lessons?
No.
But what are the struggles of a little alien kid? You know, do they have emotions? Like, you know, they're growing up. What is this, you know, reality like for there's so many species, you know, they just because they don't have souls doesn't mean they don't have you know, a lot of the aspects of existence. So what's the point of them existing?
What is the point? To grow another universe. That
And
energy is required to grow another universe. And when we move into a state of elevated consciousness and humans are at that level of, you know, all knowing on a mass scale, like every human in the universe, that's when a new universe is created and one person or one being is chosen as the ascended master, right? That's their definition of ascended master, not mine, to run the new universe. And that can take millions and millions and millions of years.
and would Bashar say that the god of our universe is basically just a human that was selected out of the previous universe?
Selected from human. No, it was a different life form. It wasn't necessarily human.
But it
They
was
would have
a
called it something else.
life form.
But it was definitely a soul in a body.
And how big, if Bashar could just say in the forms of our in the form of our perspective on space, how big is God in comparison to the universe, our universe?
How big is God in comparison to our universe? About 80% of the universe mass.
And would Bashar say that the 20% is aliens?
No, 5% is alien, and maybe 1 or less than 1% human.
And real quick, what is Bashar's perspective on our interpretation of the devil?
What is your perspective on our interpretation of the devil? It's just dark energy.
Yeah. Well, I just figured maybe there was you know, one entity chosen from the previous universe to be the negative source, you know what I mean?
There one entity chosen from the previous universe to be. Yes, that's correct. They're chosen to come forward. Yes. So it's in order for the universe to survive, there has to be a magnetism of energy.
The spectrum from positive to negative.
Yes.
And does Bashar see the beginning of all this, or is it only limited to the beginning of our universe that Bashar can see?
Yes, that's correct.
Only our universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is Bashar aware of maybe how many times, like what universe number this one might be compared? Like how long has this been going on?
Now, our
Yeah.
current universe that we reside in,
Yeah.
going on for millions of years. This has been going on beyond the whole concept of the universe, and the replication has been going on more than we can count. So
Yeah.
infinity.
It's weird, you can imagine kind of like dominoes stacking up after another one after another. And we kind of like to think of our place in this time right now as maybe like the universe kind of starting out, but if this has been happening for eternity, it's like, we're pretty far along that scale of when we're born right now. So uh,
Ooh, well, let's ask this. What happens when we achieve, all humans achieve full enlightenment? Are we then destroyed? No, we're preserved. And we help to power the new universe.
yeah, so that would be the assimilation. So we've talked, so when we talked to Jesus said that he doesn't want to ascend because he's helping people. Because when you ascend, you just get reabsorbed into source energy. Is Bashar think that's correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what we got onto once upon a time, a long time ago, is that we're basically this, we kind of got to this somewhat of an oppressive nature, that we're, kind of like batteries, fuel for this system, right?
Yes. Yes. So when, and I'm saying, are all the universes before this one in that state of being? And that is correct.
And is that why aliens don't like source energy?
Yeah, because they feel like we're enslaved.
And did that alien perspective come through just realizing that, or is that the perspective they see from being from the dark side?
They say we have no free will.
Yeah. But would Bashar say that aliens have free will?
Would you say that aliens have free will? No.
And what's the difference between besides the soul, aliens and Earthlings?
What's the difference between aliens and Earthlings besides the soul? It's the level of consciousness and power.
Yeah, aliens get more power and consciousness, right?
Right.
And what does Bashar think about that imbalance?
He thinks it's unfair to humans.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's a big, just another cog in the machine.
But it's really like, I don't know. It's really strange. I'm gonna have to think about this.
Yeah, because I mean, we've actually kind of confirmed this with even Jesus, that's, everything kind of lines up, is that we're all, trying to move forward, and then you can merge with source. And, from Bashar's information, we basically are working towards making a new universe. So that's, it's like, what else do we talk about at that point?
Right. And do aliens feel emotions? Yes. And we feel emotions. So that is something that we have in common with aliens. They feel emotions, we feel emotions. And emotions are that's energy. That's what the energy comes from.
So one of my favorite things that Bashar says is how to find your soul path. And he says all you have to do is follow the thing that gives you the most excitement, because what your body translates as excitement is actually your soul vibrating and translating what you're supposed to be doing. Can you ask him if that's accurate?
Okay, so it's accurate as long as whatever it is you're excited about is from the white light.
Right.
Lots of people get excited about a lot of dark things,
Yeah.
right? So committing robberies, scams, compulsive behavior, rapes, murders. A lot of people do get excited by that, and that is what fuels them.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that's possibly their life path in this lifetime in order to bring about the lessons to everybody else.
Right.
So I would say from a spiritual perspective, you want to do what you're excited about, but that has to be for the highest good of all.
And does Bashar operate with the highest good in mind?
No, because their definition of the highest good is different from our definition of the highest good.
Right.
The two don't actually meet in the middle. The two definitions, they're completely different.
Right. Yeah, because their highest good is self-serving and ours is more broad, I guess. But
I mean, yes, right. And our highest good can be self-serving because ultimately our highest good is for our own ascension and consciousness expansion.
yeah.
But ultimately, all of that white light energy goes back to source.
Let's drop Bashar and ask Jesus a few questions to close.
Okay. Oh, thank God. I'm so glad. Okay.
Cool. Let me know when you got.
I can't channel that Canete anymore. It's a very, very dark energy. I just can't do it.
Yeah, ask Jesus to first of all cleanse our spaces.
Okay. Yeah.
And can you ask Jesus if God is something that came from a previous universe?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow, that's awesome. It's crazy. But so
Has that ever been discussed anywhere?
no, we're at the
Pioneers?
we're avant-gardes, but
That's
yeah.
trendy.
So can you ask Jesus how long this creation, this cycle of creating new universes has been going on? Forever.
For eternity.
And from
No
Jesus,
one knows because no one can comprehend that far. Not even source.
and this universe's cycle, when all the humans, let's just confirm everything, when all Earthlings, ascend top level, are we, the mechanism for creating a new universe?
Yes. Just like you, I guess the best way to describe it would be that battery pack.
Yeah.
We all then reconvene at source. And because we're so powerful at that point, we then create another universe.
And why do we come together to create a new universe? Is it so we can start at the bottom again? Or do our identities not go into the new universe?
No, we have to stay here. Is it that we start from the bottom again? No, we are complete. Do we still exist? Yes, we exist, but as a collective. So we then go back to source, and source is then one again.
But when you're from Jesus' perspective, when you are in source and you have recombined, reconstituted, do you still have an identity, or do you lose yourself?
Do you lose your individual identity? Yes, you become one.
In your frame of reference for all of your incarnations, do you still have any frame of reference, or
No, no. And what happens is that power is required in order to make another explosion, okay? And that explosion expands the parameters and creates a new universe. So it starts off by spreading, that explosion starts off by spreading that power into a further, parameter. And then source builds itself from there. There's a new source. And then that source works on expanding the universe. And again, the same concept, which is humans are there, and or a type of human is there, and it feels source, and then it expands again. Now, what just came through was, but do we as souls experience those lifetimes in other universes? And I got, is it that we experience a lifetime in other universes? No, we're not allowed to do that. We then pass the torch on to somebody, onto somebody who is chosen to be source in the new universe.
And so what happens to the source of this universe once there's a new one? Are we completely, since we have to create the universe and we cause an explosion, is that basically the death of everything, of source and us at that point?
No, we are then connected to source and all the other universes. So it's like almost like you're looking at a ball of sun, the sun, and then there's a yellow white energy strand from that universe to the next ball of sun, which is complete and complete and complete, and it goes on and on and on and on. There's actually millions of those things.
Of source of God entities, basically.
Yes.
And what is Jesus's opinion on this framework? Does he like it?
It's the way it is. He doesn't really have an opinion one way or the other. That's what we're built for.
And if we create a new universe, then what creates aliens if it isn't source?
Because with the explosion, you see, there's no point if you just create a new universe and it's just white light, right? Yeah. Because when you create a new universe, you're just a fragment, a fraction of the power from the old universe. And so if you don't have light and dark and consciousness ascension, then you can't achieve full power to move past that and into another universe.
And so is there really any point to someone ascending if at the end of it all we lose ourselves? It's almost the same thing as losing yourself to darkness, where when you lose yourself to darkness, your soul evaporates. It's like you also have a soul that evaporates once a new universe starts. So can you ask Jesus if it really matters if each individual tries to ascend, or is it really just kind of a random occurrence of people ascending and descending?
Those that do not reach optimum or ultimate ascension, they just evaporate.
Yeah.
Good grief.
But can you ask if that's ideal compared to evaporating? Because eventually you kind of lose yourself anyways. Is that a good place to be once you have, ascended high enough?
Well, if you want to exist in pure joy, bliss, and continuum, then you need to reach that ascension.
Okay. And but the thing is once the universe restarts, can you ask Jesus if he will lose those sensations of bliss and ascension?
No, they will be magnified.
Okay, cool. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Nice. So even though you
Really?
don't have a sense of identity, you at least are a part of a nice place to be.
Right, right. And it is
Oh,
like we're all like these little balls of light that are squished together, right?
mm,
And from that, our power is exponential, right? We cause an explosion. That's probably where the Big Bang Theory comes in. I'm assuming that's correct. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, only a small fragment of that power that we've then created is allowed to move on into the new universe, right?
mm-hmm.
And then from there, I say small power. I mean, when it goes into the new universe, of course, it's extremely powerful, but it's not as powerful yet as the universe that came before it or that it derives from.
Ask why that happens. Why not just stay in a perfect universe now and not create another universe and bang and blow up? And can we just as a collective choose to just be in a perfect universe now, like once we create it?
Why do we need to keep creating new universes and not what? Because you don't ever want the power to die out. So it's to preserve all of those souls forever, for eternity.
So when we reach the highest level and we are part of that, we are preserved for eternity from Jesus's perspective.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And is that why the Bible exists?
Partially. Yes.
Or I'm sorry, I guess I should say religions.
Well, religions were to bring about morality and ethics and guidelines. Prior to that, we didn't really have a lot of ethics, right? We lived like savages. We were like animals. Animals, yes, they do have some ethics, but certainly not the ethics that we have as human beings or that we are supposed to have as human beings, right? Because our consciousness has ascended far higher than animals. So therefore, we have this elevated responsibility of ethical, behavior.
Yeah.
And that's that's part of the challenge.
My mind's spinning with many ideas and stuff right now. It's a fun information to gather.
It is. And again, we invite any physicists, professors, lecturers, students, those of you that are at this type of level and you have questions that you're sitting there and you're like, oh, please ask this question, because I know people get frustrated sometimes. They email me, no, there's so many more questions to ask, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, yes, there are for you because you're an expert on the topic, right?
Okay.
So if you're an expert on this topic and you can think of 100 more questions to ask, then by all means, then you need to be contacting us with your question.
Yeah, definitely. Because I actually just wing it, all these. So,
Well, your knowledge is quite profound. I mean, it really is. You have a really huge knowledge base, and it brings a certain element to the table for sure. I know that people just look forward to your videos because they're so different from financial markets and the world events, right?
yeah.
Although you include that as well because you are a crypto person. And I guess we
Yeah.
need to do a crypto video this week. But certainly, this element that you bring in is so enlightening to those that are interested in this part of our lifespan and our being. Some people will listen to this and they'll be, they can't tolerate the information, and that's fine too. That just means that they're not ready to receive, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But certainly I never knew what the whole meaning was, and we're just scraping layers and peeling these layers off at a time, and maybe we will eventually get down in there. So now we know there's all these universes that have been recreated and recreated and recreated.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want this continuum of white light spreading throughout all of these universes. But then is it because they're going to create eventually an ultimate universe? Now,
Right.
what was actually just shown to me is they want to eventually create a circle that circles back and eventually will just like create this ring of power.
You know what's crazy is I was actually seeing that in my head before you said it.
Oh, that gave me cold chills. Yeah.
I
That's
saw
what
that huge circle. So that was interesting.
But why do we need this ring of power? Like, okay, but why do we need that? Right? What is it? Then we stop the continuum of the universes and we have a ring of power. Then what? Then there's no reason for souls to exist, and we just exist in this pure state of bliss and joy, and with a loss of identity.
Well, so something that we could touch on real quick is Abraham, who's channeled through Esther Hicks, says that when you're assimilated into source, you basically are peering in, and you are the collective, so you actually see everyone else's memories and in all the current you can see each blade of grass and each living thing's struggles. Can you ask Jesus if that's accurate?
Yes, but when that ring is completely created, there will be no more struggle, right?
Okay.
Now, I have actually seen that every blade of grass, and I've seen that before. And how I've seen that, and those of you that have followed me for a very long time will know that I had an encounter with a UFO, and that's very typical of psychic mediums, right? Psychic mediums encounter things like that just because they understand that they can communicate through us, so therefore they want to make contact, things like that. And I was many years ago, I was a teenager, and my friend smoked, and I didn't smoke, but her father was a doctor, so he hated smoking, and her driveway was at least a mile long, if not more. And we went out into the fields in the front of her house, and we had a telescope, and she said, "Oh, Dad, we're going to go look at this telescope," so she could go smoke, right? Mm-hmm. And we did take a telescope down there, and as we got down into the field, our car was right there, but as we were standing there, this thing came over the top of us, and it lit up the entire area for as far as we both could see. Now, she is not a psychic medium. but she looked up at this object and she said, "That's technology." That's how it was. It was, appeared to me. That's exactly how she said it. It was almost like it slowed down her voice. That's technology.
Yeah.
And as she said, "That's technology," I'm observing the surroundings, and I could see every leaf on every tree. I could see every blade of grass. Everything was in this magnificent, intricate detail. And then poof, it was gone.
Mhm.
And okay, so we were scared at that point. We ran and jumped in the car. I drove her up to the top of her house as fast as I possibly could. She jumped out, ran in her house. She was shouting and screaming. And I drove home as fast as I possibly could to my mother, who was always waiting up for me. Always, always, always. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
she's passed now, but she always waited up for me. That's just what type of person she was. And she was also a psychic medium. And I said, "Mom, you wouldn't believe what I've just seen." And she goes, "I believe you." Before I could even get it out of my mouth, she says, "I believe you. I believe you. I know what you're going to tell me. I believe you." And then the next day, the sheriff's department had also videoed the same exact thing. And a lot of people had a lot of those sightings. And then the military were also called out to patrol the area for quite some time.
Wow.
So I have actually seen that intricate detail, but it was a light that was shone in the entire area, and it all happened so quickly, but I've never seen anything like that type of light before. So maybe, what was that? It was definitely like UFO energetic light. It was a lighting that here on Earth we have not been able to create, as far as I know, on a mass
Ask
scale.
Jesus why the alien was looking at you guys, the UFO.
Why was the alien looking at us? Because it wanted to make contact with me.
But did it stop time and make contact with you guys?
Did it stop time and make contact? Briefly, it stopped time, yes. That was weird. It was, yes, I could see that. Everything was in intricate detail. Did it abduct our consciousness? No, because at that time, even though I've always known I'm a psychic medium from even before my birth, right? And that's another long story that I'll go into another time. But I wasn't opened up at that time, meaning I wasn't going to make connections really with, things that were not in human form, because I was scared.
Yeah.
You see something moving out of the corner of your eye, you're scared. It scares a lot of people. And I was also frightened, but then I finally, spirit, when they want you to do something, you do it. And then I finally let my defenses down. I mean, I always had my psychic abilities there when I needed them, and they saved me from a lot of tricky situations. However, just to actively, consciously engage in it, no, I did not do that. So they obviously saw me as some sort of beacon of light. Maybe they look at me and they see me as some sort of heat sensor, or I'm like a lighthouse, and they came straight down. But they also swooped across the area, and other people saw them as well.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah. But just as a psychic medium, you attract that stuff. And people think, "Oh, it's wonderful." Yes, it is wonderful. And I'm very appreciative and grateful for my gift, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility. And I'll be honest with you, one of the examples that is set that I get sometimes is when people come through for a reading and they say, "Okay, well, it's Friday. I plan to kill myself Sunday night. So tell me what heaven's like." And you've got to be able to deal with that, right? And not a lot of people can deal with that. It's very hard. And you have to give them something to walk away with in a positive light, so you don't get that information that they did commit suicide on the Sunday, right?
Right.
They haven't yet, thank God. But, sometimes I do get those questions, and they're very, very difficult because that your answers must probably depend upon whether or not this person is going to commit suicide or not.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, it's all roses and
But it isn't.
right.
It's not roses. The truth of the matter is, and that's for anybody that is contemplating suicide, if they're listening to this, right? And I'm sorry that you're going through this, but this is something you've probably gone through in multiple lifetimes. And it's something that you have to get through in this lifetime. And you have to stay alive and work through your problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very, very difficult to somebody who is feeling like the only way that they can work through their problems is to commit suicide. That's very hard. And for those people that have been in that situation or experiencing that situation now, I completely understand how hard it is. And I do understand the plight, but I beg those people not to do it. And if we need to sit there tapping and doing CTT to get us through that situation, to at least make them feel better and want to live and know that they can clear out these problems, without having to resort to that method, because you're only going to recreate it. The problems don't go away. That's
right.
The biggest misconception, right? The problems in this lifetime, when you look at people that have passed away and they have so many unresolved issues, and I'm not talking about by suicide, I'm talking about by death, like the alcoholic that drinks themselves to death, or the drug addict that takes an overdose, or the chronic fraudster, or the wife beater, whatever it is, and they never ever resolve these issues in this lifetime. Just because you drop the physical body does not mean that you're not carrying those problems with you. Of course you are, because you have got to resolve them. And so, this goes back into what I was saying, which is prayer is excellent. I pray. I'm sure we all pray. Everybody listening, we all pray, right? And if you don't pray, you need to be praying, okay, to source. However, the energy healing aspect is saying, yes, I'm praying and I believe in you, source, but I can't wait around. I need to take matters into my own hands. And I need to accelerate this, right? Because there's only so much energy in the universe. So yes, your prayers are being picked up. Sometimes they're being answered. A lot of times you're having to wait because they can only work so many miracles in a day, right? Think of all the prayers that are sent up into the universe to source every day. And that goes back to the pyramids that you were showing and asking about earlier. The whole reason for the pyramids to be structured the way that they are is because the prayers hit the bottom of the pyramid, and the way it slopes upward into a point straight up into heaven, right? It magnifies the prayers and the vibrations, and they believe that those vibrations would be more received, or magnified and received, and so prayers would be answered. Now, yes, that's true. The structure of the pyramid was very important, but compared to energy healing, I think energy healing is very powerful. But again, energy healing, as you know, Mr. Robot, is something that you have to be extremely responsible with.
Yeah.
You can't just listen to a 5-minute audio and say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this now. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be able to work that energy and make sure that you're not absorbing the dark stuff that you're pulling out of somebody else. So it is a big responsibility. This was actually extremely interesting. I would really like to probe this much further, like why we need this ring of power, and how long is it until that's going to be created? Are the next life forms that are created in the next universe smarter, more intelligent than we are? Do they feed? Do we actually communicate back to other, the previous universes, and we just don't know it? Who knows?
Ask Jesus if he's a good person to probe for that conversation.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, Jesus is really straightforward. And what's his personality like, by the way, for you, what you're seeing?
So very patient, very humble, absolutely pure. Whenever we ask for answers, they're never really controversial, as in, there's no element of darkness in those answers. It's pure light.
Are you referring to Jesus's opinion of us? Or what was that?
No, I'm referring to Jesus's personality.
Oh, I see.
Soul.
Okay. Is Jesus happy that we're having this conversation with him?
He's happy to assist with the conversation, but it's sort of like we're not supposed to know this stuff.
And what's your sense with that? Do you just feel like there's a pushback, or?
Well, my personal sense was when we started pulling those answers, I'm like, well, then what are we working for? You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the reason you're not supposed to know those answers, because it can completely destroy the motivation in the soul.
Yeah.
And some people or some souls may think, well, who cares if I live forever? I don't care. But I mean, obviously I do at a personal level, but does it mean that I would still like have my family when we're connected as one? And will I even know that they were my family in many lifetimes? And I'm getting a no. Yeah, and that's hurtful.
Yeah.
That's hurtful, It's like, because on a family level, and it's all about, who we connect with. I mean, we do these videos for fun, but most of the people that come through for readings are asking about, their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents, their brothers, friends, loved ones in spirit. But then when we all reach that ascension, that one level, it's like all of that is irrelevant. Now that I find that to be painful.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but the positive note is that's most likely millions of years away, right?
Yes, to us now in a human body.
Yeah.
That is millions of years away. But when we drop the human body and we're in the spirit world waiting for the next lifetime, that could be in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. We have a lot more to explore with this. So again, if there are any experts out there, you need to come forward and you need to assist us with these questions. So again, if you want to contact me, go to psychiclizcross.com. You can also join the Patreon, support the YouTube channel. On the Patreon, you can, or on the Discord, which is attached to the Patreon. Yes, I know this sounds very convoluted, and I'm very sorry, but techies know how this works. And I'm not a techie, but you can interact with Mr. Robot or any of the other interviewers on the Discord attached to the Patreon.
Yeah.
The Patreon is Remote Viewing and Beyond. And where can anyone reach you, Mr. Robot, please?
Yeah, if anyone wanted to email me philosophical questions or for Reiki energy healing session, you can email me at moongrass777@gmail.com.
Awesome. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. Woo! we'll see.
Maybe you can visit the astral realm and do some more research tonight.
I don't know. I think I'm going to be praying for cleansing before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners. And again, without your support, we can't keep this going. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And much love to you all. Thank you, Mr. Robot.